AI is not coming for your job, but refusing to learn it, well, that could destroy your career and, to be honest, your company. In this episode of Humans of Growth, I'm joined by Jason Neman, the CEO over at Good Brand, for a brutally honest conversation about what AI is actually doing in marketing, in the agency space, education, productivity, and the future of work. Jason's take is really simple, and it's one that I actually kind of agree with for the most part. And it's this: you either adapt or you die. Kind of Darwinian, but honestly, pretty dang true. And I don't mean this like in the soulless way of like, let's replace humans with robots, but more so in that AI has the potential to kind of give us our life back. So in this episode, we talk about why AI still needs human context, why businesses should stop treating AI like it's this free intern, how to train AI on your brand, and why the real opportunity is not just doing more work faster, but taking back control of your life. Because let's be real, nobody who is listening to this podcast right now was meant to stare at a blue screen chained to a desk for 8 hours a day. So with that being said, let's dive into the episode. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Allie. Happy to be here.
So Jason, I introduced a little of the professional side of you, but in a sentence or a story or somewhere in between, tell me, who are you as a human? What is bringing you joy right now?
Yeah, so who I am as a human clearly for me is about being present in whatever I do. So whether we were joking earlier about playing pickleball, being present and not thinking about other things and just being there and enjoying the moment, traveling, having that particular way to be in the moment, not just taking pictures of the places, but actually being there and being a part of it. In a meeting with a client, same type of thing. In a conversation with my spouse, whatever it might look like. I'm really focused on that right now, and I'm trying to really embrace that because I feel like that's where you make the most special connections, people.
I like that. You mentioned traveling. What is the best place you've ever traveled to?
Ooh, best is debatable.
Okay.
Most recently, I've had 3 trips, but most recently I've been to Iceland, which was like being on another planet.
Okay.
Fantastic. Was on my bucket list. That was super cool and did some really great things. Went into a lava tube, went through the middle of a glacier, snowmobiled on the largest glacier in Europe. Looked at about 200 waterfalls, which is incredible. And all of that in about 10 days, which was really, really, really meaningful and cool. And really sort of set the stage for me thinking about the being present and being there. Okay. But I also just went to Spain a couple weeks ago for 10 days and did a backroads tour of the Basque region of Spain, which is the northern coast. And just so really, really historical, lots of cool, architecture there. Cool art. Went to Salvador Dali's home. He's very strange, but appreciate the creativity there. So yeah, that was really cool too. So like kind of 2 very different places. And then last year we did this weird sort of river/ocean cruise from Montreal all the way around all the way through Nova Scotia, all the way to Boston. And then flew home from there. And that was cool too, but I think I'm a one and done cruise guy. Wasn't my thing. So there you have it.
I can't imagine being on a cruise ship trapped with 3,000 other people. No, thank you.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if you want to say the best is probably Iceland just because it's so different from everything else.
Okay. What's the most overrated trip you've been on?
That's a great question too. I'm going to have to say, so I love France. There's parts of France that I love. Okay. Paris is overrated. Highly controversial.
No, I know. I don't think it is. I don't think it is that controversial.
But once you go and you've experienced Paris, it's again a one and done. Like I've seen it. I've been to all the cool places. I've seen the Louvre. I've seen Montmartre. I've seen all the different places there. I don't really need to go back. Like, there's so many other places in the world that I want to go. I want to go to South Korea. I want to go to Japan. I'm going to Switzerland in September. So, and I've been there multiple times, but
Okay.
yeah, it's just like France, the Paris is at, like, other parts of France are beautiful, but Paris is just like, it's all right.
I hear that about Paris a lot, though. Like, it doesn't feel controversial because I hear it on a regular basis that Paris is not as great as it's made out to be compared to
Yeah.
other European cities.
I could not agree more. Yep. And I loved London. London is such a cool city. And the coolest part about London is you don't expect it to be amazing. It's amazing. It's a great place.
Okay, I love it. So pivoting from travel and adventure and nature to the office and AI and marketing and tech.
Yeah.
When it comes to AI, a lot of people either loathe it or they love it. It's usually one extreme or the other. And your philosophy is that when it comes to AI, it's adapt or die. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I don't think there's any question anymore that AI is going to be a bigger part of our lives. So you have one of two options. You become an ostrich and you stick your head in the sand, or you figure out a way to harness it in an ethical way. We have worked on trademarking a phrase that I really believe in, which is, we are human-powered AI, not AI-powered humans. And I think that really sums up my thought process on the idea of, is it appropriate to be used in marketing and branding and those types of things or not? We are very focused on using it as a tool. We like to refer to it sometimes as sourdough starter. It's the idea that, you put the ingredients in that you need and it comes up with the basis of sometimes the things that you're trying to get at, but the humans involved have to nuance it. We have to talk about, who are we talking to? What are the personas we're matching with those things? How are we training the AI to think like us? And that's really the difference in the way that I think we're approaching it from an agency standpoint. Because I've been doing this for 33 years, Allie, and I have seen, I've worked in many agencies. I've worked in advertising my whole career, started as a designer, and it's coming and it's here. And now we're just on the upswing of where it's headed. And I think if we don't figure out how to modify our businesses and harness it and do it in a way that's ethical and the right way, we're going to be left behind, and I won't have a company after that. So gotta embrace it and figure out ways to make business from it. Gotta figure out how to productize it, all those things.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting is that the people who choose to adapt and start using AI, they view it more as a tool rather than a human replacement.
Yeah.
And that's where kind of like the magic is, because AI, without a hell of a lot of training, it's never going to sound human.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we spend, so, this is the first time in my agency's history. We've been around for 12 and a half years now, almost 13 years. And it's the last year has been the first time in our history where we haven't employed a full-time copywriter, which is sad to say.
Yeah.
But what we've done is we've done the due diligence and the time to train custom GPTs for every one of our clients, where it knows our nuances, it knows our voice, it knows all of the things about the client that we need it to know, that our copywriter, for instance, would need to know. And then we have a copy editor and we have our creative team that, takes that content that it creates based on what we've asked it to do and creates that sourdough starter, to go back to the first part of that discussion. And that, what that does for us is it gives us the ability to get to the finish line much more quickly and honestly, sometimes much more accurately. Because we can put things like, these are the dirty words that you don't say for this client, right? You can't say the word facility. That's the F word. You say community instead of facility. Those are things that humans sometimes forget, sometimes the AI forgets. So you still have to check it. And you just treat it, you do have to treat it like a replacement for a job position. Interestingly, there's been a lot of conversation about it saving costs. There really isn't a cost savings. It's a productivity savings in my mind,
Yep.
more than it is anything else. So it's not a complete shift from, okay, this was done by a human and now it's done by AI. It's some combination of that. And we're still
Right.
needing copy editors or creative directors that are looking at that content.
Right. And I think in a lot of ways, AI is kind of, and the rise of AI is a lot like mass production. You have machinery and the mass production process that takes the place of the people who were, let me screw on the toothpaste tube, now let me put this in here. And it replaced that process. But at the end of the line, you still had people checking to make sure everything was done 100% correctly. It can replace, and yes, it will replace jobs. We've already seen that. We've seen massive layoffs in tech companies, but it's easy for us to get scared to think like AI is going to replace our jobs, especially as marketing agency owners.
Yeah.
We've already started to see like agencies are really struggling right now.
Yeah.
But what I'm reminded of is every time society goes through these big shifts, so like mass production, pick your invention, the telephone, the automobile, where it's this massive shift, the jobs got replaced, but the people didn't go anywhere. They just became, instead of driving a horse, they're now driving a car.
Right.
It's like your job description is getting replaced. Your job itself doesn't have to. It just means you have to upskill. It does make me a little bit nervous for entry level positions.
For sure.
And how are we going to bridge the gap of, because AI can do most entry level positions at this time. So how do we take somebody fresh out of college and then put them into what role? But it's not that they're going to get entirely replaced. It's like, your job function has just changed.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think the position of what we thought we would go into as our career is it definitely has to be looked at from a young person's perspective. I have 2 adult children, both of whom are doing great and living on their own and doing their things. But if I had to right now suggest a job direction or a trajectory for a young person, my answer would probably be very different from what it would have been 10 years ago. And it certainly would have been different from what it was 5 years ago even. So I think everybody has to kind of take a look at what the future is rapidly growing to. I agree with your position 100% on, we have these industrial revolution moments. And, in our lifetime, we had the internet, the beginning of the internet, right? And so that was an industrial revolution moment that we all lived through, and it didn't spoil the economy. All people didn't lose their jobs, but there was all kinds of conversation back then of, designers aren't going to be designers anymore. Now they're just doing things for the screen instead of printing on newspaper. And while some of that has come true, sometimes that's just the way of society, right? I mean, societies evolve and they have to do that. And so I think AI, to go back to that, is exactly what that looks like. Should you go to school to be a copywriter? Probably not, right? That's not a great tact. But could you go to school to learn how to do creative writing and become a journalist? Yes, I think that's very good, and so you just have to figure out if writing is your passion and love, great. Just figure out a way that, number one, AI can support it, or you can support the AI, one of the two, and then figure out how your career trajectory is going to kind of head. And I think that's a real challenge for college professors right now, because those professors are in a situation where they're not in the workplace and they're not experiencing the realities of what's happening. Yet we're going to expect those people to be training the young people that are coming up through the universities right now. And so that's going to be a difficult a difficult twist. And I think universities will probably be looking for, to your point about new jobs that come up, they'll be looking at people that have been in the workplace that can now come in and talk reality of what's actually happening in the work.
100%. And this is where both my parents work in education. The education system has been broken for decades upon decades upon decades,
Yep.
whether we're talking elementary school, whether we're talking university. I think this could potentially, if we play it the right way, could be a breaking point for education in a very positive way. But in the same breath that I say that, I think it is giving millennials, Gen Z, or sorry, not millennials and Gen X, a little bit of a midlife crisis right now for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And I am right in the center of that Gen X. And I would never pose that we cuss on your podcast, but we get
good. Cuss all day long, please. I do it all the time.
My whole thought process is Gen X, you get shit done. That's the way you do it. Your parents were there making dinner. They weren't there. You were out until the streetlights came on. We didn't have cell phones. We rode our bikes to go places.
Yep.
I'm not saying that we, walked in the snow both ways without our shoes. I'm not saying that, but we had a different mindset. And I think when it comes to this kind of thing, that's my mindset with AI. That's my mindset with what we do and building a business. It's nobody's going to do it for you. You've got to figure it out. And to go back to the idea about education, you can probably get as good or better of an education by YouTube and Reddit and Udemy Academy and all the things that you can do online. Honestly, as good as you can get it from a university experience, because it's hands-on, it's tutored perfectly. It's reality. You can follow along at whatever your speed is to keep up. And it's not that universities aren't important. They're critically important. They're important for thinking. They're important for socialization. They're important for learning. They're important to bring experts. But now all of that stuff is coming down to the people as well because of technology and because of AI. Because if you want to learn about, hey, I want to learn about, 16th century art in Europe, all you have to do is go to Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini and say, hey, I want to learn about this. Can you create a course for me? And then let's put a 4-week course together. And can you give me lesson plans and this and that and this and that? And all of a sudden you've got all of that in front of you. Do you have the degree at the end of it? No. Does it matter? To most it does, but to some it doesn't. So it does kind of bring that education to the people, which I think is important. Because before you had to go to the library. And it wasn't creating courses for you, right?
Yep, and or dig through Google, and God knows what surfaces on the Google algorithm depending on its mood that day.
Exactly.
And this, I think, and that's the thing is I think AI. We still need the human aspect of education, but if you mirror with tech as you're going down the education funnel pipeline, whatever you call it, that's where the real opportunity is. For both ourselves now as we do personal professional development as professionals and for our kids and the kids that follow.
Yeah, agree 100%. I mean, if I was a professor or a high school teacher, all of my lesson plans right now would be amazing because I'd be creating lesson plans that are so robust and so interesting because I'm not tied to the specific things that have always been done in the department. It would be so much fun to create those lesson plans for people. It'd be so much fun. So yeah, it'd be great.
So pivoting a little bit out of education. So a lot of the internet gurus, and I say this as well, say that you need to train AI on your business. And so we see business owners all the time say like, AI doesn't sound like me. No shit, Sherlock, you didn't train your fucking AI. So tell me in plain English, what does it mean to train your AI on your business?
Yeah. So, depending on the AI of choice and depending on what you're trying to accomplish, what we find is that there are some basics that you want to do with all of your AI platforms. So we'll start with ChatGPT. It's the most popular one. Certainly not the one I go to first anymore, but it's
Okay.
for general stuff and in search. It's great, right?
Yep.
And what we do is we specifically go in and we go into, well, let me start with one other thing real quick. If you're using any kind of AI for business, you have to pay for it.
Yes. Oh God, yes.
Right? So we have to start with that as a baseline. And the reason for that is nothing is free, right? So if you're using the free versions, the information is open. It's all on a database. People can find it. And if you're using it, where ethics isn't important and you're trying to keep your client data safe, you're trying to keep your own business information safe, all that kind of stuff, you really need to think about creating your own environment. So depending on your industry, those things really matter. I know, Allie, you probably agree with that.
Yep.
So if you're a company, please pay for the software, because that's really the only way that the security is going to happen. So let's go back to ChatGPT. So one of the things that we do, and we're a marketing, branding, digital agency, so we create brand platforms for our clients. And those things include things like positioning, keywords, key phrases, positioning points for our clients. We build brand standards guides. We do all of the due diligence that you have to do to onboard a new client and to make sure that the client's voice is what it would be. That's what marketing agencies do, right?
Yep.
If you're a good one. From there, one of our main points of attention is talking to our clients and doing workshopping with them to create personas for who they're trying to target. And what we find is personas are not just, they're psychographic composites of people. We're not really as focused on the geography and all those kinds of things. We're trying to figure out, okay, we're targeting Allie, and what is Allie like, right? So we take those personas, we build those, we put as much detail in as we can about who that human being is. And in many cases, we give it a name because it's better to refer to that as a name instead of persona 1, 2, and 3. Almost every business has multiple personas so that they want to target. So we take all of those in addition to our brand platform, in addition to all of our historical writing, in addition to all of our future game plans, our marketing plan, our P&L statement, our employee count, who do we have, what types of positions do they fill? And we put all of that and train that into the GPT. So we go in, we say, hey, we're going to create a new GPT. We're going to make it specific. We're going to tell it what it needs to be. So we make multiple GPTs for that. So we make one for content specialist. And that content specialist is the GPT we use for writing. Yep. And we say, this is how we want you to play on the team. And we're going to train you. Then the next person we're going to do is we're going to do the marketing specialist. And then we're going to do the social media specialist. And then we're going to do the SEO specialist. And we're going to take the skills that you can download or ones you build, and we're going to upload those to each of those GPTs. And what we're going to do at that point is we're going to say, we don't have to anymore. We no longer have to give it context. So if I said, okay, we've got all these GPTs built for good brand. If I go directly into my SEO specialist and I say, hey, do a keyword report on our website and give me, viable keywords that I should be looking at in a competitive forum. I don't have to say, do this for good brand with this URL. I don't have to say, here's what our positioning is. I don't have to say who's our competitors, because all of that is already trained. Now it's just a matter of do what you do. Then I'll take that data, I'll pull that in, I'll look at it as a human, I'll read it, I'll look through it, and I'll say, okay, that was great, but I want you to make these slight adjustments. Because me as a human, I understand context, I understand what we're really trying to achieve. So then I give it more instruction. and it does its thing and comes back. And I go, okay, that's a lot closer.
Hey guys, real quick, this episode is sponsored by Parison Network. Parison Network is a matchmaking service that connects businesses to marketing agencies that will actually get you results. There's over 50,000 agencies in the United States alone, and picking the right one can feel, well, pretty impossible. Parison Network simplifies the entire process by doing all of the vetting for you. From the initial agency search to interviewing and vetting the top marketing agencies to getting proposals and helping you with the discovery call, Parison Network does it all. This way, you end up partnering with a marketing agency that actually delivers outcomes, not empty promises. If you're ready to stop wasting money on marketing that just doesn't work, visit ParisonNetwork.com and get your free agency search started today. That's ParisonNetwork.com, PERISSON Network.com.
Can you also add this in? And then it adds another level to what I've asked it for. And then the iteration part of that is really critical. So the thing that most people forget, though, is once you've got those final responses, it's really cool to take that and feed it back into the GPT and say, these are all really great things. I want you to remember all of this so that the next time I ask you for that, you'll be able to reference it. So that's really cool. And so for ChatGPT, that's how we train the GPTs. Now, the cooler thing is now you can ask ChatGPT to export a markdown file.
Yep.
And then you take the markdown file and you put it into Claude, right? And you say, okay, Claude, learn everything you can from this markdown file because I've trained all of this time over here on ChatGPT. Now I want Claude to learn it all. So the markdown file gives it all the basics. It gives it all that information that I had given ChatGPT and worked with over the past year, right?
Yep.
But Claude has its own set of really important skills and it does different things better than ChatGPT.
Okay.
And so now I can go to Claude and say, hey, Claude, I'm looking for 16 different designs for social media posts. Can you create those? And I want them focused around thought leadership. Enter. And everything that I trained ChatGPT on is now uploaded to Claude, so I don't have to give it any context, and it's giving me back exactly what I want. And so depending on what I'm looking for, if I'm looking for just content, I'll probably go to ChatGPT. If I'm looking for more complex presentation-ready proposals, I'm going to Claude. So, and then Gemini I use for general data and research. So
Okay.
I'm using the different tools for different things, but we're finding that they're just doing the leapfrog thing. Like one is better than, this week, and the next week, the next one's better. Yeah. But to have them cross mingled is so cool. And I know that was a long answer, but
no, I love it. I'm here for it.
I think that's the key to understanding how to use AI for work as opposed to, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. Can you make me a list and give me a meal plan? Right? Those are great things. That's not how business people are using it.
No, it's like you have to give it context. You almost have to think of like if AI is an employee, you don't just go into your new employee and say, write 10 pieces of social media content. You know nothing about my business. Right. Here's a topic on like financial advice. They're going to write something. It could be good, but it's not going to be your brand voice. It's not going to be your thought leadership. It's not going to be any of the like frameworks that are known to like go viral on social media.
Yeah. Right.
And so you have to, and that's where training is so important. And what I'm more in the process of transferring a little bit from GPT into Claude right now because it has more connectors and lets me do a little bit more. Sure. Is the importance of iterations when you're creating skills and projects. And just because something doesn't work, like a skill doesn't work the way you want it the first time, doesn't mean you can't iterate on it and it work later on, but you have to put the time and effort into the AI the same way you would do any normal employee.
Yeah, or any software, right? So like if you think of it as software, I spent a decade perfecting my Adobe Photoshop skills, and I still didn't know 90% of what Photoshop could do, right? Yeah. And I think we're there right now with AI is learning the software, because at the end of the day, this is all still software, right?
Yep.
You're putting an
100%.
input in. The difference is you're not clicking on the, the grabber tool, and you're not clicking on the ink dropper. You're verbally, either with voice or with typing, you're telling it what to do, and you're being more of a prompt engineer as opposed to a directional pointer. So I think that's really cool. And if you put yourself in the mindset of, this is a new piece of software that I'm learning, it's not as daunting maybe, but you're also thinking about it from the fact of, this is a tool that I'm using for my industry and for my business. How do I use it in a way that's productive? The ROI is there. It's critically important, I think, that you put as much thought into how to use software as you possibly can to get the most out of it.
Yeah. Do you see teams building out like space in their calendar as leaders and for like their employees for research and development when it comes to AI at all?
It's funny. I sit on in a Vistage group, and I'm not sure if you've heard of Vistage
I'm
before,
familiar. Yeah.
okay. So it's like an international group for mostly CEOs, and I sit in a room with 13 other CEOs of all different industries, and we have a chair, and that chair leads our group, and we talk about things like, how do you we all have issues to process during that time, because CEOs are very lonely, right? You don't really have anybody to talk to. So when it comes to issues, so we process issues. We have great speakers that come in. My point about that is, and to answer your question directly, I think most people that are in business that where their business isn't being threatened by AI, like mine, because my business is being threatened by AI, they are looking at it as a personal productivity tool.
Ooh,
and they're looking at it very much that way right now still. And these are some of the most cutting edge companies that are looking and starved for what's the next thing. But the CEOs are still saying, "Oh, I'm using it to, I'm using it. I'm taking all of the resumes that came in, and I'm dropping all the resumes in, and I'm letting it analyze all the resumes to see what might be a good fit in my company." Really great, right? That's a really useful tool. But is that moving your business forward in a way that affects your clients and affects your customers and all those other kinds of things? So I think businesses are just on the fringe of, how do you implement these tools in a way that are safe? How do you implement them in a way that your employees that are skeptical of AI will accept it? And I don't think there's any real framework at this point as to how do you deploy this in your organization. And I think that what we're going to see over the next year or two is, when we used to hire people to come in and do Six Sigma, or we used to hire people to come in and do, continuous improvement. I think we're going to have new jobs started that say, you're an AI integrator, and we want that AI integrator to come in to a Fortune 500 company and put this into our systems in a way that makes us more productive, sees an ROI, unfortunately sees how we can slim down our workforce.
Yeah.
But I think AI integrators are going to become a more viable job posting, where those people get brought in as experts to do it, and they'll be held accountable for the performance of how the AI works, what you decide to bring in, how productive it is, and if the general overall consensus of the organization thinks it's beneficial.
Yep, 100%. It's almost like anybody who hires Six Sigma, anybody who hires like Deloitte and all these big consulting companies, you're going to see like a wave of like AI integration. So I think for like marketing agencies, okay, a lot of the clients that agencies work with already have in-house marketers. And I think we'll always still use outside marketing talent, because you always need fresh eyeballs on stuff. But there is a niche opportunity for marketing agencies to offer like AI integration into your XYZ large company's marketing department.
For sure.
Because like you had said, like nobody's putting space on employees' calendars or giving them the budget to do R&D. Like, you have 50 people in your marketing department. I don't know how much Teams is, but any good version of Claude is at least starts at $100. That's $5,000 that you
Right.
now have to justify, and they're not doing that
No.
because the marketing department is afraid of getting replaced. It's like you're not going to get replaced unless you choose to not learn how to use this tool.
Right. Absolutely. And when you think about it, the answer that I get from a lot of my clients or partners is, well, we have Copilot that's built into Office. And so our company, right, our company doesn't want to invest, what's really funny is they'll say, my company doesn't want to invest in ChatGPT. And what I want to say to them is, you do realize that OpenAI is the back end of Copilot, just like it is ChatGPT, right? So like those same models are all being used, but that's the beginning of this. You have to have a desire to understand this if you're really going to use it. If your company isn't ready for AI, find somebody that can come in and be that integrator, or don't do it because you're really going to put your business in a bad place. You know, some of the things that I've seen, like we've had a client that came to us and was like, hey, we saw that Claude can build a website and we've built one and we want you guys to look at it. And, you know, we look at it and we're like, well, what content management system is it on? Where are you going to host that? Does it have WordPress on the back end? Does it have SEO plugins? What did you? Well, it's just kind of the front end. We want you guys to put a back end on it. And I'm like, that's not how this works yet. You know, like that's basically what you gave us was a prototype.
Yeah.
Now you want us to rebuild it? We can build it, right? Can Claude and Claude Code do that? And can you do it? Absolutely. But those are highly skilled people who have now spent a year or two learning how to do that kind of code. It's not something where, you know, the nail salon person's going to come back and say, hey, I built a new website. Let me launch it. You know, it doesn't work that way. That would be like saying to your accountant, hey, you know, I know you saved me bunches of money on taxes over the past 10 years, but I ran this through ChatGPT and it said that, you know, I could do my taxes on my own this year. But that's the reality.
Yeah. Oh, it 100% is of average business owners thinking, oh, I can build, and you can, and like there are tools that let you integrate like AI into your website and help you build it out. Like Webflow has done that, I think, already. But it's kind of, I think it's kind of the equivalent of like having a Go High Level website, if you're familiar, where it's like you can have a pretty one pager and maybe like a couple other pages. If you want a fully robust website that allows you to do blog posts and SEO and has content management systems and Claude Code is not going to do that. And even if it can, it's such a unique instance that your CMS system is so unique to you that if something goes wrong and you don't know how to fix it, you're paying just as much money to hire somebody to come in and fix it because they've never used that system before because it doesn't exist anywhere else.
Right. Absolutely. And they're probably going to spend more money to replace the CMS that's on it. Yeah, I agree 100%. It's still the Wild West. This is like, so I worked for a company that built websites for other companies. So commercial website development company in 1996.
Ooh, those are good old days.
Okay. So you want to talk about bleeding edge. I was reading out of an HTML book in my office all by myself, trying to figure out how to take my designs in Photoshop and turn them into websites. Right.
Yeah.
And what's crazy about that is, you know, that makes me sound really old.
No,
but
you're fine.
What's crazy about that is this kind of reminds me of that. It reminds me of the beginnings of what ultimately is going to be this really useful, super cool. It's going to level itself out and sometimes settle in to what's really cool, and what's really productive and what's really useful. And then all the superfluous things that are around it, they're all going to go away or become kind of, you know, silly. But 5 years from now, I take it back. 3 years from now, if you and I were having this conversation, it would be very different, right? It's going to be 100%. Absolutely different. And I hope we can schedule that 3 years out.
We'll just go ahead and put that on the calendar.
Yeah. Right. So we'll come back and talk about this and we'll be like, oh gosh, we were so wrong. But But the realities are, I think it's just so early, and the adoption is for people that are very early adopters right now. And for those people that aren't early adopters, they're scared of it. I mean, one of the things that you probably don't want to go into this, and if you don't, tell me.
You're fine. You're good.
But one of the things that I love to talk to people that are Gen Z about is that their whole worry about AI is energy and how it's going to make the planet fall apart because we don't have the energy and we're going to have to build new power plants and all this new stuff. And what I say to them is, so I remember this exact conversation when the internet came about.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this, and basically where we're at right now is we actually have a really unique period of time that if you're this worried about AI being an energy drain on our world, which is a valid concern.
Right, totally.
Then put yourself in a position where you can advocate for these big companies like Google and OpenAI and SpaceX to create new ways for us to get clean energy and use the money that they're going to be spending in R&D and research. I mean, spin up 3 Mile Island and put the nuclear plant back online for Google's data centers. I'm fine with that, right? Because at that point, or get these little small nuclear plants that are super safe and put those next to data centers and let it be clean energy, or do what Apple did in Maiden, North Carolina, and create the iCloud servers, but make sure that all the solar panels are there and you're getting 99% of your energy from solar, right? So I think we have a small, unique window for these young people to get behind the idea of, okay, it's coming, we're cool with that, but do it in a way that's responsible so that our future isn't wrecked by it.
And that's what I'm reminded is because I do see, like, I'm here in the South and everybody's skeptical of everything 24/7. Right. Is that, like, you see a lot of the local business owners, like, we would never hire somebody who uses AI graphics. And I'm like, you need help on your, you can't afford a graphic designer. You need help on this. And I understand that right here in this moment, AI is not good for the climate, for the world on a physical level.
Right.
However, let's go back to when cars were invented. They are worse the original car, Ford's Model T was a worse energy polluter than like what our current cars do. But we figured out how do we get more fuel efficient, because everything starts off a little bit like crunchy. It starts off a little bit bad, and then we figure out how do we optimize. We're in the period of everything's bad, but you can complain about that or you can do something about it. The something about it is not, oh, we're not going to use AI, because if that's your take on it, you're adopt or die, you're going to die. We see that already happening. But how can you go and like go talk to your political leaders and pressure them to go pressure these big companies to use clean energy, or how do we recycle the energy within like a self-contained space, not need water. Like, here's the thing, can we use the energy centers, if they use so much water, can we get that out of the atmosphere instead of like the groundwater, and it be less humid and my hair be less frizzy and I need less hairspray every morning? You can advocate. It's like, because I was reading a research study a couple months ago of like, it's one thing to live in, like, we live in a world that's on fire, no matter what side you're on, it's a world that's on fire. And the people who get stressed and depressed the most are the ones who see it and feel hopeless and victim mentality. I can't do anything about it. But the ones who are still in the same environment, but say, hey, I'm going to go be an advocate for XYZ, their depression and anxiety levels are significantly lower because they're acting on their feelings in a more in their environment in a more positive way than letting themselves sink below. Same exact thing with AI. It's here. It's not the future. It's the present. What are you going to do about it? Because once it's here, you can't get rid of it, and it's already here, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I agree. Obviously, I agree 100%. I think everything comes down to perspective of where, we're talking about, you asked me earlier about where I am personally. I'm present right now talking to you, and I am 100% involved in this conversation. I think if people applied themselves to situations where they're not distracted or they're not sitting in a place like a coffee shop and doing work, and not that there's anything wrong with that. It's nice for a change of environment. But are you really in flow? Right?
Yep.
There's something about flow that says, I need to be dialed in and I need to really focus on this. And I think we've lost that art to a certain extent of finding flow to be really productive, where time moves really fast, but your productivity slows down to a point where your productivity is so good that you look up an hour later and you're like, wow, I got a ton done, but I didn't even realize it, you know?
Yep.
So I think those things really affect where we're at. And I think if we can harness AI in a way that's productivity, and I go back to my first point, which is human powered AI, not AI powered humans.
Yep.
I think it's really important that we think about it from that perspective and we use it in a way that makes our lives more productive, makes our jobs more productive, because my hope would be that we work less than we work now.
Exactly. Yep.
Let's not fill the space with more work. Let's figure out how to make more balance in your life, right? 8 years ago, I made the decision as a CEO to go to a 4-day work week. There was a reason for that, was because I was seeing burnout on my team to a level that was insane. Are we doing any less work right now? No. We're still doing the same amount of work, right? The difference is that people are more mindful of their calendar. They're saying, hey, I've got 8:30 to 6 every single day that I've got time for my clients and for my coworkers in my work. And I know I have that from Monday through Thursday, every single day. And on Friday, if I want to work, I can work, but we have rules. Don't send emails to clients on Fridays. Don't send emails or messages to other team members on Fridays, because if you choose, that's your choice. You do it. And if you're too busy throughout the week and you're like, I just need to get this off my plate because it's going to make me feel better, great, do it. But I also want you to be able to get on your mountain bike and go ride and clear your mind so that when you come back in on Monday, you're dialed in and you're present, right?
I love that.
Or, hey, you want to have a dentist appointment and you don't want to take paid time off? Fine, do it on Friday. Cool, that's great. So I think it's just, we have to think differently, and AI is the same thing. We have to think differently of how we implement it. Don't implement it into the way that you currently work. Implement it into a way that's going to enhance what happens in your company.
I love that, because I think you're right. I think AI has the ability, when utilized well, to give us our lives back, because we were never, as humans, we were never designed to sit at a desk in front of a blue screen for 8 hours a day.
Right.
That didn't become a thing until we didn't become 24/7 workers until the Industrial Revolution. The internet then had us chained to like a blue screen. But we were never, as humans, it doesn't matter your spirituality, your religion, whatever. We are biologically not wired to be sitting still looking at a desk, a computer, 8 hours plus a day. And if we can take some of that time back, how much more fulfilling can our lives become?
100%. Yeah. So one last thing about AI, and I will say, I was kind of beating up on CEOs earlier about productivity and how does it make it easier. But one of the things that I do use Claude for, and this may be helpful for those people who are listening, is I've given Claude access to so we're a Google Workspace group, and I've given it access to my calendar and my email. And I've said, once a week on a Thursday, go into my calendar for next week and see if you can make it more efficient. It comes back and it'll say, hey, look, if you move this meeting to this meeting's in this location, outside of your office. Hey, you're going to be in Roanoke, Virginia, on Thursday next week. If you move this meeting to this other day, it'll make you more productive because of this. And oh, by the way, do you want me to email that person and see if they have any openings the following week or another time that day? And so there are some things, to your point about productivity and making my life easier. I don't have a big enough company to have an executive assistant. I'm not that privileged. So Claude has become my executive assistant in that realm. And it took me probably, I want to say, probably 10 hours to set that up. But the amount of time that it's going to save me over the next 3 months, just in general, will probably add up to hundreds of hours. So to me, I just sort of think like, there are baby step moves and then there are massive moves. The baby step moves are, how do you make yourself more productive with AI? The massive moves are, how do you make your company more valuable using AI?
Ooh, I like it. So on that note, Jason, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. If people
You're
would
welcome.
like to connect with you further, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so you can check out our website, goodbrandcompany.com. We've been, like I said, around for 12 and a half years. So you can reach out to us on the website. You can feel free to connect with me on socials or LinkedIn. I think my LinkedIn is /Jason Neman, so super easy. But yeah, connect with me. If you need some advice on how to integrate AI, we can certainly help with that. If you want to learn how agencies are adapting the way we're working and you want to learn more about that, I'm certainly happy to help you with that too. But yeah, really the best way would be to go to either LinkedIn or goodbrandcompany.com and you can hit me up.
Awesome. For everyone tuning in today, thank you so much for joining, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Humans of Growth.